KVAQ-TV is sponsored in part by the UTRGV Information Technology Department, which will host IT Tech Days from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., November 18th in the University Ballroom of the Edinburgh campus, and November 22nd in the Rotunda on the Harlingen campus. The event welcomes students to speak with technology experts from the IT departments who will provide information on how to kickstart their career in the technology industry as a student. Attendees can also learn about the technology available at UTRGV and get free advice on personal computers and devices. There will be prize drawings, free food, and drinks. KVAQ is brought to you in part by M Crowns. M Crowns specializes in custom hats. With 7 years of experience, Miguel Saceda makes custom hats with you and your lifestyle in mind. Fashion hats, western hats, any choice you want, it doesn't matter, he'll do it for you. M Crowns also specializes in restorations. If it's cleaning, reshaping, or restoration of an inside liner, he's there to help. Located in the Mercado District, 4400 North 23rd Street in McAllen, Texas, M Crowns waits for you.
Coming up, with President-elect Donald Trump about to take the charge, how will the economy look like during his second term?
Plus, a well-known chef shares an inspiring story about his culinary journey here at UTRGV.
And UTRGV Volleyball battles Incarnate Word at the UTRGV Field House. Those highlights in minutes.
KVAQ-TV starts now.
Hey vaqueros, I'm Perla Cortez.
And I'm Desiree Villanova. This is the 13th fall edition of KVAQ-TV.
Today is Monday, November 18th.
A recent poll conducted by NORC at the University of Chicago showcased that 39% of Americans cited the economy as top issue in the recent 2024 presidential election. How will the President-elect Donald Trump's second term affect and change the economy for 2025? Our reporter, Perla Cortez, with the details.
When President-elect Donald Trump's second term starts on January 20th, he will implement Agenda 47 into his presidency. According to his website, he plans to propose large tax cuts for workers and no tax on tips. Another proposal includes keeping the U.S. dollar as the world's reserve currency, as well as to end inflation and make America affordable again.
The economy is actually doing well. The stock market is booming. The unemployment rate is just around 4%, which is really low. Wages are rising. Inflation is down. So the economy is actually doing quite well, I would say.
UTRGV Economics Department Chair and Professor Gautam Hazarika says due to Trump's tariffs being imposed on countries, specifically China, it will cause an increase in the pricing on goods, but may also create jobs. According to Investors Business Daily, tariffs are the imposing of taxes on imported goods. Depending how high the tariff is, the consumer purchasing would have to pay more taxes for that item, therefore affecting the economy of that country if it relies on exporting goods.
Because once you make foreign goods more expensive by putting this customs duty or customs tax on them, this makes goods made in the US more competitive, right? So instead of a customer buying a product made in China, which is usually cheaper, this customer will now perhaps buy a good made in the US because the Chinese product has been made more expensive by these customs duties. So he hopes that this will create manufacturing jobs in the US. I hope that happens. But one effect of this, of course, is going to be higher prices in the stores, because everything that we buy that's cheap and made in China is now going to be more expensive.
The Tax Foundation stated that during Trump's first term, he raised tariffs towards China by 25% due to an investigation on China participating in unfair trading practices. In 2017, Trump signed a bill called the Tax Cuts and Job Acts. The bill serves to lower the taxes for people and corporate tax. This would allow an individual to pay less on taxes, but also earn less when tax break credit, which is a discount one earns if qualified. The tax cut for individuals will end in 2025 until a change in law or policies get renewed. Yet the tax cut for corporate companies is permanent, which includes a decrease of 35% to 21% on corporate taxes. Political science professor Clyde Barrow explained how this act mostly benefited the wealthy rather than the low or middle class.
That tax cut was a $1.5 trillion reduction in taxes, and about 90% of that tax reduction went to the wealthiest 1% of Americans. It was basically a tax cut for billionaires. It was also, they reduced the tax rate on corporations, so it was a tax cut to large corporations. What did they do with that money? Well, they didn't really invest it in the economy. What they invested it in was increasing stock dividends to shareholders and stock buybacks to inflate the value of the stock holdings.
Barrel says although a president has a budget deficit to act on, the problem is how it is used and if the country bites off more than it can chew.
Then borrowing and deficit financing can actually build and contribute to economic growth in the future. On the other hand, if you just sort of, I would say, squandering it and spending it on something like wars, that money's just going out of the economy, but you still have to pay the interest on the debt. In that respect, it just becomes inflationary, and it becomes a drag not only on the economic growth, but on people's standard of living. Economists would consider budget deficits to be an inflationary pressure on the economy because that means the government is sort of consuming more of the capital that would otherwise be available for private investment. It's creating additional demand, which puts increased pressure on prices. So generally speaking, budget deficits are considered inflationary.
When it comes to deficit for the economy, it is the amount of money that the U.S. borrows, therefore increasing debt. Hazarika says although the wealthy benefits from the bill, he says that it is a possibility that Trump may increase the revenue from the tax cuts with the tariffs he imposes.
When you give tax cuts to the wealthy, that reduces the government's tax revenues. And so this has an effect of increasing what's called the budget deficit, right? And when the government runs a budget deficit, it has to borrow. And so this causes the national debt to increase. So if Trump follows exactly the same policies, which is cutting taxes for the rich, chances are this is going to lead to budget deficits again and an increase in the national debt. Now, he may counter that his tariffs will earn the government some revenues. Now, that's a possibility. That some of the taxes lost from reduced taxes on the rich will be made up for by these tariffs, revenues that come from taxing imports.
For KVAQ-TV in Edinburgh, Perla Cortez.
A seasoned chef, Roy Choi, made an appearance as a guest speaker for the Distinguished Speaker Series at UTRGV last Tuesday. Reporter Celine Bocanegra has more on the story. Take a look.
Roy Choi was born in Seoul, South Korea, but raised in Los Angeles. He was named Best New Chef by Food and Wine magazine in 2010 and Time's 100 Most Influential People in 2016. During his speech, Choi spoke about how difficult it was for him to find something he enjoyed while maintaining the expectations of his traditional Asian parents. Choi tried to express to his parents that seeing the world differently is not right or wrong.
So every time I tried to explain to my parents that I saw the world differently, doesn't mean that it's right or wrong. I just was processing things differently.
Choi goes on to explain how his food truck Gogi helped inspire others to follow their dreams, mentioning some of the strategies Choi and his co-founder used in 2008 when the business was established.
The other thing is, I think what Kogi did in 2008 with Twitter and the iPhone coming out, we built the blueprint and the architecture for how food and beverage operations use social media. Back then, no one was advertising. Right. No one was using influencers or content creation. No one was doing food porn or any shots of food or anything like that. There was long form food blogging. You as writers would appreciate that. And so I think what we were able to do was capture the soul of long form and put it into short bites. Right. And that changed everything.
Choi goes on to give advice to aspiring food truck owners, explaining owning a food truck is 10 times harder than a restaurant because of added factors such as weather and traffic, but also offers freedom.
I would say, and just don't ever take that freedom for granted, and don't take your customers and the people that support food truck culture for granted. It's a necessary vehicle, no pun intended. It's a necessary vehicle for a part of life that really sometimes gets overlooked by national media and by popular culture, but people on the ground that are working, they need food, and food truck culture is very important. So you have to always remember your audience. No matter how famous or big you get, don't forget where you come from.
Choi explains how every day, every minute, and every second is a challenge when running a restaurant.
The restaurant business is not something that's stagnant. Whereas what's the business? I could open a shoe store, for example, right? And then as long as the electricity works, I can just open the store every single day and the shoes will still be there. Hopefully they don't run away on their own. But in the restaurant business, food goes bad, it's all factors, so you're constantly pivoting.
As Choi's platform continues to grow, he does not see himself as an inspiration and prioritizes passion and humanity. For KVAQ-TV in Edinburgh, Celine Bocanegra.
The Center for Student Involvement hosted Penny Wars to raise donations for the Palm Valley Animal Society, with Little Furry Friends paying a visit here at the university as well. UTRGV Fraternity and Sorority Life hosted Penny Wars at the Edinburgh Chapel lawn to raise donations for the Palm Valley Animal Society. Fraternity and Sorority Life graduate student assistant Audrey Solis says UTRGV fraternities and sororities competed against each other to raise money that will be allocated to Palm Valley Society, which is a nonprofit organization committed to animal welfare across Hidalgo County, providing shelter and care to over 10,000 animals annually.
On Tuesday, our first day of the fundraiser, we got over $400. So we're hoping that we either shoot for the same amount or we get a little bit more than $1,000 for both days.
There are more ways students can contribute to the cause. According to Solis, if individuals are unable to make a donation, Palm Valley Animal Society accepts volunteers to help the shelter. For volunteer opportunities on campus, Solis advises students to reach out to the Center for Student Involvement. For more information, visit UTRGV CSI or Fraternity and Sorority Life on Instagram, or their website utrgv.edu/CSI.
In sports. UTRGV Volleyball hosted its senior night against the University of Incarnate Word, dominated in a 3-0 blowout last Thursday.
The Vaqueros held its final 2 regular season matches at the UTRGV Field House, honoring 5 seniors who led to victory. Every senior honored contributed to the team's win, getting at least 1 kill across all 3 sets. The 2 main highlighted being outside hitter Claudia Lupesco garnering 15 kills and outside hitter Ilana de Assis with 12 digs and 11 kills. Other seniors showcased include setter Natalie Reyes, brightside Paris Key, and outside hitter Ingridi Nicoletti Foltran. The sets were close with both teams going on back-to-back scoring streaks, with the first set 25-18, the second set 25-14, and the last set being 26-24. Head coach Tal Lowry speaks on the team's victory.
I thought we played well, I thought we did what we talked about, and we wanted to stay consistent, and I thought we did, other than maybe there at the very end. We wanted to make it interesting, but no, I thought the girls did a good job. We talked about taking care of the easy balls and taking care of the stuff that we needed to take care of, and I thought we did a good job of that.
UTRGV wrapped up the regular home season with a match against Houston Christian this past Saturday.
UTRGV men's basketball starts the season with a strong win November 10th at the UTRGV Field House. The Vaqueros' home opener was a success, with a 110-60 victory over the champion Christian College Tigers. With a great game from start to finish, the Vaqueros dominated both halves. The celebrations continue as this marks Cahill Fennell's first career win as head coach at UTRGV.
It means a lot, I guess, big picture. I think it'll be one of those things where I reflect back on and I have a lot more appreciation for it. Just in the moment, I'm just thinking about how we can get better and how I can better serve our players and get more out of them and put them in positions to be successful for our next game.
Coming up, the Vaqueros will compete away against the Wisconsin Badgers at 7 p.m. today. UTRGV Athletics announced a collaboration with UTRGV Men's Basketball and the RGV Vipers on a 956 Hoops Showcase. The showcase will be held at 7 p.m. Monday, December 2nd at the Bird Ogden Arena, and at 6:30 p.m. Thursday, December 5th at the UTRGV Field House.
UTRGV women's tennis wraps up the last invitational of the season.
UTRGV women's tennis wraps up the last invitational of the season. The Vaqueros competed in a 3-day match November 8th through November 10th. On day 1, junior Yaisa Vasquez and sophomores Madeline Joff and Ria Macassar won their single draws and moved forward to the semifinals. On the other hand, the Vaqueros lost the double games the same day. On day 2 of the Rice Invitational, they secured 4 wins, setting them for the final day. UTRGV concluded the last day with 3 single wins. This tourney was the last accomplishment of the year for the UTRGV women's tennis as they prepare for the next season, which will resume for the spring schedule in January.
Great job, Vaqueros.
Watch us Monday through Friday on VCast monitors and on social media.
For KVAQ-TV, I'm Desiree Villanova.
I'm Perla Cortez.
Peace up.